Let's proceed to the medieval philosophy or the period of medieval. Okay, 500 AD to 1350. Okay, pagdating dito sa medieval period, they put God or they place God as the center. Okay, or naging theocentric sila pagdating sa pag-explain, pag-define, and pag-describe ng self. Okay, since theocentric siya, this is highly centered sa belief ng Christianity, sa religion, sa spirituality, and kay God. And under dito sa medieval philosophy ay dalawang philosophers. Okay, starting with Saint Augustine. Okay, Saint Augustine is the Socrates or Plato in the Christian world. Okay, he integrated the ideas of Plato and Christianity. Okay, so yung mga ideas, mga philosophies ni Socrates and Plato nilagay niya sa lens ng Christianity. Okay, for him, the soul is an important element of man. Okay, he described the humankind gaya doon sa pag-describe sa Bible that humankind or man is created in the image and likeness of God. And he believed that God is transcendent and everything is created by God who is good. Okay, so basically sinasabi niya that God is good and God created all things and all that he created are good. Okay, God created man, therefore man is good. Okay, sinasabi rin niya that the self is known only through knowing God. Okay, self-knowledge is a consequence of the knowledge of God. Okay, so makikilala lang natin ang ating mga sarili only if we know God. Okay, and kilala rin siya sa kanyang famous dictum or famous na saying, "My soul is restless until I rest in you." Okay, nagsasabi itong my soul is restless until I rest in you na we live in a world full of tribulations, full of problems, struggles, pain. That's why our self or our soul becomes restless. And we can only attain this peace or this rest if you have this relationship, communion or connection with God. Okay, so hindi natin kailangan, okay, or literal na mamatay ka to have peace. Okay, or para magkaroon or makasama ang Panginoon, para maging at peace ang isang tao. Ang kailangan lamang nito ay magkaroon ng relasyon, intimate relationship and connection with God. Okay, kahit na andito ka man sa mundo full of tribulations, yourself or your soul may be restless. If you have God in your life, you will be at peace. Okay, next philosopher na under sa medieval philosophy ay si Thomas Aquinas. Okay, Thomas Aquinas believed that the human self is fundamentally a created being. Okay, in our existence and essence as humans is dependent on God. Okay, in the moment of our conception, we have this innate longing to have a connection with God, or we have these natural inclinations toward God. Okay, and knowledge can only come by seeing the truth that dwells with God. Okay, knowing God is knowing oneself. Makikilala lang natin ang ating mga sarili kung meron tayong kinikilalang Diyos. At yun ay ang philosophy or paniniwala ni Thomas Aquinas. He also believed that man is composed of two parts, the matter and form. The matter or hyle in Greek refers to the common stuff that makes up everything in the universe, and the form or the morphe as the essence of a substance of things which differentiates us from other animals. Okay, and gaya ng kay Saint Augustine, our soul is, or our soul makes us humans. Okay, so kung walang soul ang isang tao, hindi siya matatawag na tao. Okay, ganun ka-importante ang ating soul. Okay, yun ang para kina Saint Augustine and Thomas Aquinas. So basically, dito sa medieval philosophy, ang sinasabi nila is knowing God is knowing oneself. Kung wala kang Diyos, hindi mo makikilala ang iyong sarili. Now, we will proceed to the last part of our lesson, the modern philosophy, 14th century to the early 20th century. Okay, pagdating dito sa modern philosophy, they become anthropocentric or centered on the human person. Okay, from pre-Socratic period na cosmos or the universe as their center, zodiac signs na stars ang center, to the ancient Greek philosophy as quest for self-knowledge, medieval philosophy as theocentric or places God as the center, and anthropocentric places human person as the center sa kanilang pag-define, explain, and describe ng self. Okay, so meron tayo ditong 7 philosophers. At ang una dito ay si Descartes or si René Descartes or mas kilala siya as Descartes. Okay, he is considered as the father of modern philosophy. Okay, and famous rin siya sa kanyang dictum na cogito ergo sum or the I think, therefore I am. Okay, cogito ergo sum, that translate I think therefore I am, or the I doubt therefore I exist. Okay, Descartes thought that the only thing that one cannot doubt is the existence of the self. For even if one doubts oneself, that only proves that there is a doubting self. Therefore, that cannot be doubted. Okay, medyo magulo siyang pakinggan. Okay, bakit nga ba nabuo itong cogito ergo sum? I think therefore I am ni Rene Descartes. It is because itong si Descartes, isa siyang doubtful man. Okay, punong-puno siya ng mga pagdududa sa mga bagay-bagay. Okay, sinasabi niya na what if all things, the things that I touch, I sense, okay, aking feelings, and all the people that surrounds me are just illusions, that they don't really exist. Okay, and I want evidence, okay, for all of this, para maniwala ako na totoong nag-i-exist sila. So, pinagdududahan niya ang existence ng mga bagay-bagay sa paligid niya, even his own existence. So, he seek to answer those questions or yung kanyang mga pagdududa. But at the end, siya rin ang nakapagbigay ng kasagutan sa mga tanong niya na yun or sa kanyang mga pagdududa. And he concludes, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. I doubt, therefore I exist. Okay, doubting itself proves that thing truly exists. Okay, so doon pa lang sa pag-iisip natin or sa pagdududa natin doon sa existence ng bagay na ito ay napapatunayan na natin or nabibigyan na natin ng evidence na iyong bagay na iyon ay nag-i-exist. Okay, doubting itself only proves that there is a doubting self. Okay, or that thing truly exists. Okay, that's why I doubt, therefore I exist. Okay, and Descartes also claimed that the self is a combination of two distinct entities, the cogito, which is the mind, the thing that thinks. Okay, and the body or the physical body compared to a machine attached to the mind, the non-thinking entity that and fully governed by the physical laws of nature. Okay, so we are composed, or the self is composed of body and mind. Okay, mind that is limitless, mind na nag-iisip, and the body that is a machine connected to our mind. Non-thinking entity, bagay na hindi nag-iisip and kinokontrol ng mga bagay sa paligid nito. Okay. And the mind and body dichotomy, the soul and body are independent of one another and they can exist and function without the other. So, hindi siya doon sa ibang belief ng philosophers that mind and body and soul, na hindi mag-i-exist ang isa kung walang isa. Itong ating mind and body for Rene Descartes, they are independent from each other. They can function and they can work independently or without the other. Okay, let's proceed to John Locke, an empiricist or evidence or experience based. Okay, he viewed the self as being closely tied to consciousness and memory. And sa kanya galing ang concept ng tabula rasa or the blank slate na nagsasabi that we build the self. We build, we construct, or we create the self or our personal identity. It is constructed primarily from our senses, experience, okay, specifically from what we see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. This experience shape and mold the self throughout a person's life. Okay, self-consciousness is necessary to have a coherent personal self-identity or knowledge of the self as a person. Okay, so lintulan niya tayo sa isang blank slate. Okay, walang kahit na anong laman, blanco. Kumbaga parang flash drive na bagong bili. Okay, walang kahit anong content. Nagkakaroon lamang pag nalalagyan. Okay, pag nag-download tayo ng music, okay, nag-upload tayo ng files, ng movies, and pictures dito sa flash drive na ito. Ganun ang tao, nagkakaroon lamang ng content, okay, or nabibuild ito through our experience, doon sa mga bagay na nakikita natin, mga nararanasan natin, mga taong nakakasalamuha natin. Okay, so tabula rasa tayo, blank slate tayo noong tayo ay ipinanganakin. As we navigate life, as we grow older, nabibuild natin itong self natin, na ito from our experience. Okay, next philosopher ay si David Hume, a Scottish philosopher that has a very unique way of looking into a man. Okay, he is an empiricist who believes that there is no self. Okay, so itong si David Hume, hindi siya naniniwala na mayroong self na nag-i-exist. Okay, he said that one can know only what comes from the senses and experience. He argues that the self is just a bundle of perceptions, impressions, thoughts, ideas, and images. Okay, walang nag-i-exist na self, or itong concept ng self na ito ay wala. Itong tinatawag natin na self, it is just a bundle of perceptions, impressions, thoughts, ideas, and images that comes from our senses and experience. Yun ang sinabi ni David Hume, bakit walang nag-i-exist na concept ng self? Okay, there is no past nor future, only the present stimulation provided by the external world. The self is just a result or a product of our emotion. There is no self. Self is just a bundle of impressions, perceptions, thoughts that comes from our senses and experience. And this self is just a product of our imagination. Okay, yun ang philosophy ni David Hume regarding sa self. Let's proceed to Immanuel Kant. Okay, Immanuel Kant suggests that we construct the self. Okay, gaya sa philosophy o sa sinabi ni John Locke, sinabi rin ni Immanuel Kant that we construct, we create, or we build the self. Okay, it is an actively engaged intelligence in man that synthesize all knowledge and experience. Okay, so itong self natin na ito ay mula rin sa ating mga experience and knowledge synthesized together, okay, from this internal and external world. Okay, internal world, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. External world, events or situations outside our control. Ginagawa natin sa internal and external world na ito, we synthesize, we combine to create the self. In other words, the self constructs its own reality, creating a world that is familiar and predictable. So itong self natin na ito mula pa rin sa ating mga experiences, internal and external world. Next philosopher ay si Gilbert Ryle. Okay, para kay Gilbert Ryle, ang concept niya ng self ay napakasimple lang. What truly matters is the behavior that a person manifests in his day-to-day life. Okay, he suggests that the self is simply the way people behave. So sinasabi niya that the self is our behavior. What we do is our self. Okay, so basically, our self is our behavior is our self. Ganun lang siya kasimple para kay Gilbert Ryle. Self, behavior, and self. Okay, next philosopher is Paul Churchland. Okay, para kay Paul Churchland, simple lang rin ang concept niya ng self. Okay, the self is the brain. All we have is the brain, and so if the brain is gone, there is no self. Okay, the physical brain gives us our sense of self. The brain and self is inseparable. Okay, ang ating self naman ay ang ating utak. Okay, kung walang utak, walang self. Paano pag nawalan ang utak? Okay, namatay ang tao, hindi na gumagana, hindi na nagpo-function, nag-work ang utak. Wala na ring sense of self ang isang tao. Dahil ang ating self is closely tied sa ating brain. Okay, and that is according to Paul Churchland. Brain is our self is the brain, and they are inseparable. Okay, so dito na tayo sa last philosopher. Okay, Maurice Merleau-Ponty. Okay, he is a phenomenologist who asserts that the mind and body bifurcation is just a misunderstanding. Okay, hindi siya naniniwala sa mind and body bifurcation. Bifurcation means dalawang bagay na dumaan sa proseso at nagkaisa. Para sa kanya, itong mind and body natin, hindi sila dalawang bagay na pinag-isa dahil simulat sa pulpa lang, iisa na sila. Okay, they are so intertwined that they cannot be separated. That's why the concept of bifurcation is an invalid problem or a misunderstanding lamang. Okay. He also emphasized the concept of embodied subjectivity where the self is deeply connected to the body and its experience. So one's body or our body is our opening towards our existence to the world. Embodied subjectivity meaning our self is connected to our body and to our experience. Okay, and that is the philosophy of Merleau-Ponty regarding the self. Okay, so natapos natin discuss ang different philosophers from the pre-Socratic period down to the modern philosophy. Okay, and doon na rin nagtatapos ang ating buong lesson. Okay, so I hope you understand our discussion or you understand our lesson. Okay, do you have any questions? If meron, pwede nyo lamang itong message sa ating group chat nang sa ganun ay malaman ko at masagot ang anumang katanungan or clarification regarding sa ating lesson.